Namo Pavagaya Parayanaya.
Namo Namaste Kilakaranaya.
Namo Namaste Kilakaranaya.
Nishkaranaya Bhuttakaranaya.
Nishkaranaya Bhuttakaranaya.
Salvagamanaya Mahanaya.
Salvagamanaya.
Namo Pavagaya Parayanaya.
Namo Pavagaya. Namo Namaste Kilakaranaya. Nishkaranaya Bhuttakaranaya.
Salvagamanaya Mahanaya. Namo Pavagaya Parayanaya.
Namo Namaste Kilakaranaya.
Nishkaranaya Bhuttakaranaya. Salvagamanaya Mahanaya. Namo Pavagaya Parayanaya.
Namo Namaste Kilakaranaya.
Namo Namaste Kilakaranaya. Nishkaranaya Bhuttakaranaya.
Salvagamanaya Mahanaya.
Salvagamanaya Mahanaya.
Namo Pavagaya Parayanaya.
Namo Pavagaya Parayanaya.
Nama. I offer my respectful obeisances. Nama. Again, I offer my respectful obeisances. Te. Unto you. Akila Karanaya. Unto the supreme cause of everything. Niskaranaya. Unto you, who are causeless. Adbhuta Karanaya. The wonderful cause of everything. Sarva. All. Agama Amnaya. Unto the source of the Parampara system of all Vedic knowledge. Maha Arnavaya. The great ocean of knowledge. Or the great ocean wherein all the rivers of knowledge merge. Nama. I offer my obeisances. Apavagaya. Unto you who can give deliverance or liberation. Parayanaya. The shelter of all transcendentalists. Translation. My Lord, you are the cause of all causes, but you yourself have no cause. Therefore, you are the wonderful cause of everything. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, who are the shelter of the Vedic knowledge contained in the Shastras like the Pancharatras and the Vedanta Sutra, which are your representations, and who are the source of the Parampara system. Because it is you who can give liberation, you are the only shelter for all transcendentalists. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Responsively, please. My Lord, you are the cause of all causes.
My Lord, you are the cause of all causes.
But you yourself have no cause. Therefore, you are the wonderful cause of everything. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, who are the shelter of the Vedic knowledge contained in the Shastras like the Pancharatra and Vedanta Sutra, which are your representations, and who are the source of the Parampara system. Because it is you who can give liberation,
you give liberation.
You are the only shelter for the transcendentalists.
You are the only shelter for the transcendentalists.
Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto you.
Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto you.
Okay, let's see. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is described herein as the wonderful cause. He is wonderful in the sense that although there may be unlimited emanations from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Jamariyasha Yataha, he always remains complete. Purnasha Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vashishyate. Can anyone else think anything wonderful about him as the Creator?
You should punish him.
Huh?
You should punish him.
He's...
So you should punish him. Don't remember that.
I didn't actually catch that.
Did you
I think I'm going deaf.
The Purnamadayam, it's
Yeah.
you should punish him.
Yeah, Ishapansha. Can anyone think of anything else about him that's very wonderful? Huh? Yeah, I mean, slokas are nice, but I'm just thinking in terms of him as a personality and how he manifests and his different pastimes and things like that.
Although he's the source of everything, it's like he's more attracted to being a simple cowherd boy, like trying to steal.
Yeah, quite amazing, isn't it? He's a supreme creator. He's a sort. He says, "Ham savasha, bhava mata samvatade, eti matva bhajante mambodava." I'm the source of everything. All material and spiritual worlds emanate from me. Yet we see that he's playing as a cowherd boy in Vrindavan, or we see that he's crawling in the dust in the courtyard of Nanda and Yasoda, and he's relishing it. You know, whereas you see in this material world, someone has the position of being a big controller or a big creator. Generally, they're very proud of it, and they like to boast about, you know, how wonderful they are. But Krishna creates everything just like, you know, he doesn't even have to think about it, just by glancing, you know. Even in a somewhat, like you see this picture here of might be Garbhadakshay Vishnu or Karanakshay Vishnu. He casts his glance, and the whole universe comes into creation. And his glance doesn't even directly touch matter. He certainly doesn't touch matter. And the whole creation goes on by his potency. Yet he himself, he relishes playing as a simple cowherd boy or a child in the courtyard of his mother and father. It's quite. This word here is used as what is it? Adbhuta Karanaya, the wonderful cause of everything. And its meaning, there's many different ways we can understand this word, but Adbhuta means astonishing or very wonderful. And this is so astonishing that even though he's the powerful creator, and so many people are bowing at his feet, he becomes the chariot driver of Arjuna, just like we see here in this painting. Yeah. And Arjuna is saying, take my chariot here, take my chariot here, do this, do that. He's God. You know, he's the supreme creator. And if you look at most religions in the world, they have this concept of God as the controller, the creator, you know, the supreme. And everyone bows down before him. But you'll see in this, Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy, even though he has this position or this role of being the supreme, of being the Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha, Anadi Radhi Govinda Sarvakarna Karanam, still he relishes becoming a plaything in the hands of his devotees. And this is indeed astonishing. Just like we see in the prayers of Queen Kunti, I think the second prayer she says is Maya Javadikachanam. She's saying how even though you're such a great and powerful personality, you're covered by your deluding potency, this curtain of Maya, and therefore we cannot understand you. And we see that Bhishma Dev, when he's lying on his bed of arrows, the deathbed of arrows, he's praying in the same way. It's like, you know, I cannot understand you. Your pastimes are inconceivable. And this is the nature of the Supreme Person of God. It really very difficult to understand how he is the supreme creator, how he can do everything like that, yet he plays like a simple little cowherd boy. He plays in a very wonderful way, and he uses this play as a means of capturing the hearts of his devotees. And it's just so extraordinary the way he interacts with people. In our experience in the material world, if we have a bank balance of $1 million, as we withdraw money from the bank, the balance gradually diminishes until it becomes nil. However, the Supreme Lord, the Personality of Godhead, is so complete that although innumerable personalities of Godhead expand from him, he remains the same Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purnasha Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vashishyate. Therefore, he is the wonderful cause. Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajambi. And we see that because Krishna expands. It's described in the Bhagavatam how just like the waves in a river, they just keep coming. You especially see on a windy day, you go down the river, and the waves, they just come. They never stop. And his incarnations are like that. And we see that anything in this material world, if it expands, the more this thing is expanding, it becomes diminished. You can't like, if you have a stock of wood and you build a house from the stock of wood, it's not like the stock of wood remains the same. It's diminished. And everything's like that in the world. But Krishna, he's not like that. This verse, Om Purnam Adaha Purnamadam, Purnam Udashit. So the personality of God is perfect and complete. And even though so many perfect and complete emanations come from him, expansions come from him, he still remains perfect and complete. He never diminishes. Prabhupada would sometimes say, in spiritual mathematics, 1 + 1 = 1. 1 - 1 = 1. And this is Krishna. He can expand in so many different forms, but he does not diminish. He remains complete. And he's always ever expanding. He never changes. But he's constantly changing. It's a little bit, for a mundane mind, it's a little bit hard to conceive the true nature of Krishna. Although he never changes, he's constantly changing. Although he stays the same, he's constantly expanding. So this is the nature of Krishna. And also, when he winds up the material creation, everything enters back into him. And if you look at this creation, think just of like this, even like you look at this project here, Karuna Bhavan, if you take all the elements of this project and put them all together, there'd be quite a lot of ingredients there. Buildings and cars and devotees and whatever we have here, windmills, etc., etc. If you add it all up, it'd be the glass houses, things. There'd be quite a lot of ingredients. And that's just this one little thing in a place called Lesbahego. If you take the whole planet, it's phenomenal. I mean, how much does the planet weigh? I think it'd be, an extraordinary amount of weight would be there. But then if you take the whole creation, and we can only see a small part of the creation, if you take the whole creation altogether, I don't think anyone could calculate how much, material energy that is, how much mass that is, the weight of all that would be phenomenal. And it enters back into the body of the Lord, and it makes no difference to him. It's so insignificant to him. And you take all the universes together, it's such a phenomenal amount of material nature which is there. Yet when it enters back into his body, he doesn't change. He doesn't grow as a result of it. Ishvara Paramakrishna Sachidananda Vigraha Anadi Radhi Govinda Sarvakaranam Karanam. Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the supreme controller. He has an eternal, blissful, spiritual body. He is the origin of all. He has no other origin, for he is the prime cause of all causes. The amazing thing about Krishna is everything expands from him. It just comes out of his body, comes out of the energy of his body, and he's not diminished in any way. Whereas you see, anyone else who creates in this material world, they have to have a stock of materials. They have to have some raw materials in order to create. Just like if you want to build this, for instance, you have to have some wood, You have to have some glue, some nails, screws, whatever, a bit of fabric, a bit of padding. You have to get it all from somewhere. You go down to the hardware store, wherever you buy all this sort of stuff. Krishna, he doesn't need a shop. He doesn't need a stock of raw materials. It just all comes out of him. Incredible when you actually consider what he's doing. And still, he likes to play as a cowherd boy in Vrindavan Dham. We see how Mother Yasoda's looking, because he's performing these extraordinary pastimes. And Mother Yasoda is sometimes, she's so bewildered by the things that he does. Just like this pastime where he eats dirt, and then she looks into his mouth and she's starting to think, who is this person? Is he some devata who's playing in my courtyard? Is he actually the Supreme Personality of Godhead? And then at that point, Krishna just covered her over with his yoga maya. And she forgot all that and said, no, he's my son, and I have to feed him. So just the nature of Krishna is quite extraordinary. And with our material consciousness, we cannot understand the true nature of Krishna. We can get some idea, but through material consciousness, the material mind, the material consciousness or intelligence, whatever you want to call it, cannot perceive spirit, because spirit does not behave according to these material laws. You'll see in material laws, we talk about conservation of energy. We talk about how, if some energetic entity gives off a certain amount of energy, then its energy is diminished to the degree of how much energy it gave off. Krishna gives off energy; it's not diminished in any way. Krishna absorbs some energy; he's not increased in any way, although he's constantly expanding. It just defies all logic and reason, at least material logic and reason. Even in this material world, we can understand that the sun has existed for millions of years and given off heat and light since its creation, yet the sun still retains its power and never changes. What then is to be said of the supreme cause, Param Brahma, Krishna? Everything emanates from him personally, yet he maintains his original form, Satchidananda Vigraha. Krishna personally says in Bhagavad Gita 10.8, Mata Savam Pravartate. Everything emanates from me. Everything emanates from Krishna eternally, yet he is the same Krishna and does not change. Therefore, he is the shelter of all transcendentalists who are eager to get free from material bondage. Everyone must take shelter of Krishna. It is therefore advised, Akama, Savakama, Mokshakama, Vidatihi, Tibrena, Bhakti Yogena, Yajeta Purusham Param. Whether one desires anything or nothing, or desires to merge into the existence of the Lord, he is intelligent only if he worships Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by rendering transcendental loving service. Bhagavatam 2.3.10. Param Brahma, the Supreme Lord, and Param Dhamma, the Supreme Repose, is Krishna. What's that verse? Param Brahma, Param Dhamma, Pavitam, Paramam Bhavam, Purusham, Shashvatam, Divyam, Adidevam, Ajam Vibhum. Arjuna is explaining, you are the Supreme Brahman, you are the Supreme Abode, he's just taking shelter of Krishna. The Supreme Pure. Therefore, anyone who desires anything, whether he be a kami, a jnani, or a yogi, should try to perceive the Supreme Personality of Godhead very seriously, and all of his desires will be fulfilled. The Lord says, Ye yata mam prapadante tangs tataiva bhajamyaham. As the living entities surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Even the kami who wants everything for his enjoyment can get it from Krishna. For Krishna, supplying what he wants is not at all difficult. Actually, however, one should worship Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for the sake of getting liberation. Vedaischa savaya ahame veda. By studying the Vedic literatures, one should understand Krishna, as confirmed here. Sava gamam naya mahanavaya. He is the ocean, and all Vedic knowledge flows towards him. Therefore, intelligent transcendentalists take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sarvadhamam parityaja mamekam sharanam praja. This is the ultimate goal. So a very, very wonderful description here of Krishna's greatness, and there's quite a few interesting words that are being used in this wonderful verse. I just wanted to go over them a little bit. I made a few notes here. What color you can remember. So first off, it talks about Akila Karanaya, under the supreme cause of everything. So this is the nature of Krishna, as we know from that verse, Ishvara Parama Krishna, Satchidananda Vigraha, Anadi Radhi Govinda, Sarva Karanaka. So it says, Ishvara, you are the Parama, so you're the supreme controller. Krishna, there's no controller who's greater than Krishna. Satchidananda Vigraha, and you have a body which is eternal, full of knowledge and bliss. And you look at our bodies, they're not eternal, and they're certainly not full of knowledge and bliss. I mean, just like yesterday I was doing some exercise and I hurt my knee, so I'm kind of limping around. That's not bliss, that's suffering, and that's the nature of this material body. There's so much suffering comes, and as the body ages, it goes through different changes and stages and stuff, then we're experiencing more and more suffering. It's just the nature of having this body. So this is the Krishna, who's the supreme cause of everything. And then it says, Nishkaranaya, who are causeless. Krishna is this Sarva Karana, he's the cause of everything. But he had Adi Govinda. Adi means origin. Anadi, he has no origin. This is the nature of Krishna. And this is the thing, it's like if you look at everything in this material world, or every living entity in this material world, no matter how powerful they are, we can see they have a cause. And you can look at all the mighty creators in the heavens and things like that, Indra, Brahma, all these greatly powerful personalities, they all have a cause. There's only one person who doesn't have a cause, and that's God, because that's what makes him God. The fact that he has no cause. He's always existed, and he always will exist. So this is the nature of God, is he has no cause. Either material or spiritual, he has no cause. Even though when he plays as a child, when he descends to this material world, it appears like he has a cause. But he is the cause of those who he seems to be the cause of. So this is the nature of God. And then it goes on, this Adbhuta Karanaya. So he's been described here, like I mentioned before, this word Akila, Adbhuta. Adbhuta, it can mean, just like in Mayapur, they're building this Adbhuta Mandir. So it's very, very wonderful or astonishing. This is probably more apt translation. It is astonishing. And we see the nature of Krishna's pastimes, because it's saying here there's this Adbhuta Karanaya, the wonderful cause of everything. He like so much expands from him. Unlimited energy expands from him. The whole universe, just like we see when he lies down on the causal ocean and goes into mystic slumber, all the universes come like little bubbles come out of the pores of his skin. And there's countless unlimited universes. Just like, I remember when we did the Panchatattva installation years ago, I think it was 2005. And you make, part of the Abhishek is you make up this tilpisti. So tilpisti is used for cleansing the body. It's sesame seeds ground into a paste. So we had this big sack of sesame seeds, like this big. Can you imagine, it's just like, the universe is like one sesame seed out of that bag. And how many, thousands or millions of sesame seeds in that bag? The universe is like that. There's just so many unlimited universes. And they all just expand out of his body. He lies down in the ocean, and just wonderfully, these universes. And each universe is complete. Each little universal globe or orb, it's got, within there's a universe, and it's got the different coverings, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, false ego. It's got these 8 coverings around. Each covering is 10 times bigger than the one before. So inside the universe is so small. if you take like this universe, 4 billion miles across, yeah? From one side to the other. So that means the layer that goes on top of that is 10 times the size of that, 40 billion miles. That's the Earth. That's thick. So either side, it's 80 billion plus 4 billion in the middle. So and then you take a layer Earth water, the layer above that, that's 400 billion miles, both sides. Yeah? Then the layer above that's 4,000 billion. That's 3 layers. Then the layer above that is 40,000 billion. Then 400,000 billion. Then 4 million billion. Then it just goes. It's just phenomenal. And and this is one of the smallest universes. And this is coming like a little seed out of Krishna's skin. And this is saying he's the wonderful or the astonishing cause of everything, because he's creating all these things that just emanate. And this is not even Krishna directly. This is a portion of a plenary portion. And this thing, a portion of a portion, it's like, because you see that he expands the Sankarshan. And then from Sankarshan comes as Balaram, and then from Balaram comes this form of Sankarshan, then comes Mahashankarshan, then comes the first Chatavyuha, then the second Chatavyuha, and then from the second Chatavyuha comes all the Purusha avatars. So it's not even Krishna directly, it's an expansion of expansion of expansion of expansion. And from him is creating all these universes. And this is just one tiny little universe, and it's so big. You can imagine, like, if you took the whole orb of this planet to look at, like when you finally get to the false ego is the outer layer of these 8 different layers, and then the Earth would be like a mustard seed in comparison, or not the Earth, sorry, the universe would be like a mustard seed in comparison to the size of this Earth, if you look at the size of all the layers. It's just phenomenal. And then inside each one of these tiny little mustard seeds is the whole universal creation that we experience. And then he expands that in so many different ways. It's just phenomenal the way it all takes shape. And then also, he's astonishing, because although he is the cause of everything, and everything comes from it, as you're saying, there's aham sarasya pravam mata savam, I'm the source of all spiritual material worlds. Everything emanates from me. There's nothing there's nothing in creation that doesn't come from Krishna. It all comes from him. Yet he doesn't change. That's phenomenal. It's like if we try to create something, we change. We expend energy, we become tired. He doesn't change. Sometimes we become elated because look what I've done. But he doesn't change. And Bhishma Bhagavatam talks about this, how Krishna, even though he acts in so many different ways, he's still neutral. For all these, even though it appears like he's punishing the demons and rewarding the devotees, he's neutral. He doesn't change. And this is very wonderfully described in the first chapter of the 7th canto, how Krishna is equal to all. And Krishna also makes the same point in the Bhagavad Gita, that I am Vinod, I'm impartial to everyone. I'm equal to all. He makes this point. And so this is the nature of Krishna. It's just like, if someone does something for us, say someone comes and gives you, how would you feel if I were to give you $1 million? What would you think about me?
Thank you.
You'd think I was the most wonderful person, yeah? You become influenced by that. But Krishna's not like that. You can give Krishna so many things, but it doesn't change him. He's neutral. But he says, whoever renders service to me in devotion is a friend to me, and I'm a friend to him. But still he remains neutral, even though he acts in a way that is reciprocating. So he's just quite extraordinary. Kadamuni praises, my dear Lord, you alone create the universes. Oh, personnel, we've got to design and create these universes. You create them, maintain them, and again wind them up by your own energies, which are under the control of your second energy called Yogamaya. Just as a spider creates cobweb by its own energy and then winds it up again within itself. Krishna's like that, and he expands all the universes from himself, and then he winds them up, he withdraws them back within himself, yet he doesn't change. Then And then Kunti prays, she says, my dear Lord Krishna, Yasoda took a rope to bind you when you committed an offense, and your perturbed eyes overflowed with tears, which washed the mascara from your eyes, and you were afraid. Can you imagine this? Krishna, the creator of the universe, the destroyer of so many demons, the great powerful personality, who everyone is, fear personified. There's what's that verse in the Bhagavatam? Huh? That's from third canto, right? I think. Yeah, it's saying that fear personified is afraid of you. Yet here he is. Mother Yasoda's got this stick, and she's going to hit him with a stick, and he's crying. He's frightened of, and it's not like he's pretending. He's crying. He's frightened of her. And this indeed is Adbhuta. And this is what Kunti says. This sight is bewildering to me. You're God, yet you're crying in front of your mother. You created her. She comes from you. You created the whole universe. Fear personified is afraid of you. Yet here you are. You're crying to Mother Yasoda. And then this, the next verse here is, next word here, is, where is it? Sarva Agama Amnaya. You're the source of all knowledge and the source of the Parampara. So as we know in the Gita, this is Evam Parampara Praptam Imam Raja Sayovadu, that the supreme science, it comes from Krishna. And then he says later in the 15th chapter, this is Vedesh Chasa Vedo Vedanta Krid Vedavid Eva Chaham. That I am, all the Vedas, I am to be known by all the Vedas. Indeed, I'm the compiler and I'm the knower. So ultimately he's saying, all this Vedic knowledge comes from me. And this is the nature of Krishna. And then this another word here, Maha Anavaya, the great ocean of knowledge, or the ocean where all rivers of knowledge merge. So in Kunti she prays that you descend to propagate transcendental science and devotional service to the hearts of the advanced transcendentalists, the mental speculators, who are purified by being able to discriminate between matter and spirit. And another prayer is with the prayer of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. He preaches to, he wrote 100 verses glorifying Lord Chaitanya. As far as I know, there's only 2 remaining because he destroyed it straight away. But one of the verses is Vairagya Bhakti Yogam Shishaksham Ekam Purusha Purana. He's describing how Lord Chaitanya, he descended to teach Vairagya Vidya, knowledge and renunciation. And so ultimately, this knowledge of Krishna. But there's many wonderful understandings of the nature of Krishna. This Apavagaya, unto you who can give deliverance or liberation. And we see how Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, when they approached Lord Chaitanya with scoring their teeth, they bowed down. This is Namo Mahabharanyaya, Krishna Premavitayade, Krishna Chaitanya. You're the most merciful, you're the most munificent. And we see that Lord Chaitanya is described in the beginning of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, how when previously Krishna was requiring the devotees to surrender in a particular way. So you abandon all varieties of religion, surrender me, I'll deliver you. Mahaprabhu wasn't like that. He just freely gave love of Godhead. And this is why he's called this most munificent incarnation, because he's liberally distributing. And then Kadamuni also, he talks about that, how there's an interesting section in the 21st chapter of the 3rd canto. Kadamuni, by his yogic practice, he actually has darshan of the Supreme Lord, and he offers these different prayers. And he said, by taking shelter of Krishna's lotus feet, we can be freed from the primary necessity of material body. He prays, I'm continuously offering obeisance to your lotus feet. It's the only place worthy to take shelter, because you shower all benedictions on the insignificant. It doesn't matter whether you're a great personality or a small person. And you see that in material society. It's only when people are, generally you'll find that people will, reciprocate with those who are capable of reciprocating with them. Just like if a rich person comes into the room. Everyone wants to please him because they want to get something from him. But Krishna's not like that. He'll reciprocate with anyone, whether they have everything or they have nothing. And actually Kunti prays how, what's that verse? That you're very easily approachable, but only by those who are mature. This the Kinchana Gochara she mentions. You're easily approached by those who are materially exhausted, by those who actually have no interest in this material world. If people are approaching Krishna to try and get something, they want money, they want liberation, he's not very much interested in that. But if we approach Krishna with his mood simply to serve him, simply to please him, then this is what pleases him most. I think there's a few more interesting words here, but I think I'll leave it there. Any comments, questions at all? Yes, Srimad Bhagavatam.
We always hear about the universe is emanating from the pores of the skin. The universe has also come out of his mouth.
No, I've never read that. It just mentions the pores of his skin.
And I was wondering, it's referred to somewhere, in some places that the universe has 7 coverings, and some there has 8.
Yeah.
I heard that because the false ego is a conception, it's not actually physically manifest, but then in the Brihad Bhagavatam Gita, Gopkuma goes through the false ego, which means, and if there's 8 coverings, I was just trying to get it in my mind, if the universe was only an inch big, and there's 8 coverings, then it means that the coverings would be 11,000 miles, if you add them all up together, so you've got 1 inch and 11,000 miles of covering. So it's like we're really well.
But you got to double that, because it's just that's one side or that's both sides. Because if the universe is 4 billion miles, then the next covering is 40 billion miles each side. Yeah? So like I was saying, like if it was this big, the whole planet would be the size of the outer layer of the universe. If that 4 billion miles was this big, like you're saying 1 inch, then this whole planet would be the size of the outer covering of the universe. So just to give you an idea of how vast these and so what happens is as they come out of the Lord's body, then the aggregate elements settle down on them, they grow. And they cluster together in little golden threads and sit down in the current ocean. And there's no gravity outside of them, so sometimes they're maybe upside down, sideways, right way up, and the gravity manifests within them. And that's also quite remarkable, how Krishna manifests gravity within. And the more and it's really important to contemplate, I feel, these descriptions of how Krishna creates the universe. Because and Prabhupada makes this point at the end of the 10th chapter of the Gita. When we understand the greatness of Krishna, we can actually understand the nature of God. But just to think of him as the creator, okay, I mean, fine. But sometimes these perceptions of creation are quite small. But when we actually reflect on how he creates and how uninvolved in the creation he is, he just glances and that's it, he's gone, he's out of there. And it's not even him directly. It's one of his, somewhat removed expansions. And this whole material creation is going on just by his desire.
I don't understand, or are we not supposed to understand how Krishna has always existed and everything is, because he's referred to as the creator, but it's not like he was sitting there one day thinking about how to design a bed. As he's existed, everything simultaneously existed immediately. So although we say the creator, in one sense, it's like it's so sudden, kind of takes away from the idea that he's created it. It's just that it was always there, which is quite fascinating.
Well, see, I mean, I can't honestly say I really understand that. Because we're here in this realm that is governed by time. But the spiritual realm, there is no time. So the idea of there being a time when, because Krishna says in the Gita, never is there a time when I did not exist, nor is king, nor the future shall never cease to be. So as long as there's time in this material world, these things have always existed. But then how it happens when there is no time, I don't really understand. But we can understand that Krishna did create these things at some point, but it wasn't a point in time. But I can't really fathom that because I can only really understand functioning within time. I can't understand functioning outside of time. And that's why for us as conditioned living entities, it's very difficult to understand the spiritual realm because we have no experience of these things. The idea of not dying, we have no experience of not dying. That's all we've ever experienced is taking birth, getting old and dying. We've always experienced time, we've always experienced heat and cold, we've always experienced day and night. This is the world of duality, but the spiritual world, there is no duality. So how do we understand that? We'll have to wait till we get there. Of course, you can understand a certain amount by reading the scriptures, you can understand a certain amount through the association of advanced Vaishnavas, but it's not an academic pursuit. You can't understand it just by reading and trying to understand these things. It's very difficult to do.
There's an interesting statement by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He says, all questions come from the time factor, past, present, and future.
Yeah.
And the original question of all questions is, what time did I fall in the spiritual world? And he said, the only way we can get free, he says, these questions lead to doubts, and then doubts lead to anarthas. He said, the only way you can get free from all these questions is to be situated in the eternal present. Because in my mind, it's like Apana is traveling us, and then Apana is the stage where you're accepting everything. So you don't ask anymore why the sky is blue or why the grass is green, you just accept this is the way it is, and always was and will be. And at that point,
There's an interesting letter that Srila Prabhupada wrote to a devotee called Jananivas, not the Jananivas we know. He was a devotee in Canada, he died in a car crash. And in that letter, Srila Prabhupada's explaining our position in this material world. And he's explaining it to be actually illusory. He said that it's just like the moon, it appears to be waxing and waning all the time. But actually, what's the status of the moon? It's always the same, it doesn't change. He said, so in the same way, the living entity appears to be conditioned, but actually the living entity is always liberated. So, because we're identifying with the material nature, all this is happening to us. We're perceiving it, but actually it's illusory. And he makes the point that actually the living entity is always liberated. We're always situated there with Krishna. And this is a hard one to kind of digest, but we're actually, somehow or other, we are actually in the spiritual realm. But we're having this, I remember hearing Bhavananda explaining one time, Prabhupada told him this whole material experience is just a passing thought. Essentially, you're sitting there living and you're sitting there thinking something like, why is Krishna the center of attention? Why not me? That's this whole thing. Oh, no, I don't want that, you know. So it's just like a passing thought. Millions and billions of births here and all this suffering and happiness and this and that and the whole thing that's going on. It's just a passing thought because in that realm, time is not there. Here we go through time. And so it's just, if we try to understand these things, as I was saying, if we try to understand these things with a mundane mind, with mundane consciousness, you can't understand it. It's just like sometimes in deity worship, like the system of deity worship Prabhupada explained to us, in some ways defies explanation. Because there's certain elements in the whole spiritual science we're practicing. There's elements of the spiritual science which defy explanation with a mundane perception, with mundane consciousness, mundane reasoning, because it's transcendental. It's beyond that. And this is why sometimes we struggle with various concepts, is because we're trying to understand them with what's in between these two ears, you know. And it's like Prabhupada used the story of Dr. Frog, trying to understand the Pacific Ocean through the experience of his well. The well is so limited, so finite, whereas in comparison to the well, this Pacific Ocean seems infinite. Of course, we know it's not, but you know. So it's a good analogy, because we're trying to understand unlimited, the Supreme Person of Godhead, and the spiritual realm with our limited experience, and we can't do it. And therefore, generally, what the scientists say, it's all mythological, it's all fiction, doesn't exist, because they think that everything must be finite because their experience is finite. And so the only way we'll ever come to understand it is to accept that there are things that are beyond my understanding.
The etymology of the word understand in Sanskrit, star is to be situated, and I'm not sure what under is now, but it's interesting that to actually understand, you have to stand under. You have to situate yourself under, like going downhill. Who can understand that it's floating in the air? But when you stand under the going downhill, then you just realize, it's impossible with its hand.
And the thing is, like, you know, if we try to lift something like Govardhan Hill with our mechanical arrangements, the whole thing would crumble and fall apart. Whereas Krishna, by his mystic potency, he lifted it, he held it aloft with the little pinky of his left hand for 7 days. But not only that, it's not like when they walked under the hill, there was all like these rocks and roots and boulders and water dripping down and stuff like that, you know? And they're all just like shivering around, you know? No, he manifested, there's a description of the Goswami's literatures, he manifested this amazing palatial environment underneath there, where there was like terraces and stairways and waterfalls and fountains and trees, and, you know, like, if you ever go to Perth, Jani Karini Mataji's built this, they call it Govinda Dham, and she's made this whole description, you know, she's taken the description from the acharyas and made this whole model with all these like miniature people and everything like that, what it looks like underneath there, and it is phenomenal. And Krishna's created that, just like, you know, he didn't have to run around and, you know, get some stonemasons to build the stairs and do it. No, it's just like, he lifted the hill up and it was there. And they just all walk around and they're just like, wow. Yeah. You know, but for us to create something like that would take years and years and years and cost millions and billions of dollars. And how will we get the hill to stay up there for 7 days? You know, because Govardhan Hill was much bigger then than it is now. It's shrinking every day, the size of a mustard seed. So 5,000 years ago, 5,000 mustard seeds bigger. And so it's quite a lot, probably more than that, but it's quite a lot bigger. And so, you know, Krishna, by his just adbhuta, astonishing power, created all this in a moment. You know, that's the thing, in a moment. It's like we couldn't do it. We couldn't even think of it in a moment. Yeah? You know, it's really important for us to appreciate how wonderful Krishna is. Because the more we can appreciate how wonderful Krishna is, the more we become determined to serve him no matter what. And like sometimes we experience frustration, we experience difficulty, we experience challenges. And as it mentions that, what's that, Tate Nukam Pamsus, you know, we understand that due to my past sinful activities, I'm suffering. But actually I should be suffering so much more than this, but because Krishna, out of his kindness to me, has reduced this just to a token, just to remind me in the past I did some, you know, wrong things. So we have to try to keep all these things in perspective, because when the difficulties come, we can see how Krishna is actually caring for us in every circumstance. Even though it may seem so difficult and there's so many challenges in this material world, and, you know, but and this is one of the things that's really amazing with Kunti's prayers or with Bhishma's prayers. They're in a very, very difficult situation, but they're accepting how Krishna at every moment is there for them, taking care of their needs. And it's the same for us. We just need to understand how at every single moment of every single day, Krishna is there for us. And he's providing everything we need. Just some reflections on that. Thank you. Anything else? Srila Prabhupada ki, Samaveta Bhaktivinoda ki, Jai Nitai Gaur Premanandi.